Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Skip doesn't like the Cowboys rookies spraying champagne in the club. Shannon breaks down just why Phil Jackson's clarification of his LeBron critique is just as offensive as the original comments. As Shannon predicted, Jerry Jones is making Skip very nervous with his last round of statements. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard tells us why tonight the Warriors will win against the Clippers. Mr. No Way, No How, Rob Parker is back with us today and brings the heat in the debate over Tom Brady. Let's debate. Let's get started in Dallas. The 11-1 Cowboys have already clinched a playoff spot and could clinch home field advantage this weekend. Yesterday, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was asked if the team would start resting players down the stretch. Let's take a listen.
I see us more as business as usual. What it does allow you to do is when you've got guys on the fence with injury, not push them. And that it just would be smart. But I don't know that you gain anything at all with a less than you just use good sense, just use common judgment. But the other part of that is the obvious. You don't want to take the edge off. A football game is part of a personality of the team, and you want that team to stay very physical as you enter these playoffs. Here's the thing. I want to do what gives us the best chance to have Tony contribute to a championship. And we're speaking about Tony right now, but I do want Tony to be ready to go in case that Dak should have an issue health-wise. And that gives us strength going into the playoffs. So not from the standpoint of necessarily protecting Dak or protecting your quarterback when you've got the bye cinched or in the playoffs, but from the standpoint of having Tony the readiest to come in and play would be my immediate or quick assessment.
Oh, Jerry.
Jerry.
Skip, do you have a problem with what Jerry said?
Do you have a problem, Skip?
Joy, I have so many problems with this on so many levels. And before I launch, I must give my friend Shannon Sharpe credit here because he has said consistently right here on Undisputed that the only way the Cowboys are going to lose is if Jerry Jones beats them. And I think he has begun to beat his Dallas Cowboys. Give me a second
Go
here.
ahead, take your time.
First of all, what general manager or coach talks about what he'll do as far as resting players before the home field bye has been clinched throughout the playoffs? There's only one who would do this in the entire National Football League, and that would be Jerry Jones. Now, granted, just for the record, my Dallas Cowboys could clinch home field throughout the playoffs as early as this Sunday. Right. If they win at the Giants, Seattle loses at Green Bay, and Detroit, as an 8-point home favorite, would have to lose to or get tied by the Chicago Bears. That is not likely to me. Is that fair to say? I think it's not likely. But let's just do, for sake of argument, the worst-case scenario. What if the Dallas Cowboys go lose at the Giants? And by the way, they have won 6 of their last 7. What if they then lose to the Bucs, who have won 4 straight and 6 out of 8 at Jerry World? What if they then lose to the Detroit Lions, who have won 4 straight and 7 out of 8? Those are 3 pretty dangerous games to me. This league is hard, man. I've been doing this for a long time. You played for a long time. You know you cannot tempt fate this late in the season or provide bulletin board material for 3 straight dangerous teams by talking about home field advantage throughout the playoffs as if it's a done deal. We just barely got into December and it's a done deal, Jerry? Are you kidding me? Put a sock in it. Somebody should save Jerry Jones from himself. And again,
Keep talking, Jerry.
Yeah, well, I know that's how you feel, and you just could well be right. But here's the problem with Jerry Jones. He has been so heavily criticized in Dallas-Fort Worth for 20 long no Super Bowl years that he cannot stop himself from prematurely gloating. What he was doing on his little radio gig yesterday, his weekly radio gig, was saying, look at me, I did it. I did it. I'm Jerry, and I did it. No, you haven't done it yet. You might do it, but you have not done it yet, Jerry Jones. So I wish somebody could help control Jerry, and I'm afraid even his son Steven can't stop Jerry. from doing in the Dallas Cowboys, which leads me to problem number 2. Jerry Jones will not and cannot let go of Tony Romo. Jerry is already discussing plans to play Tony Romo after the Cowboys have clinched home field advantage. And he says he wants Romo to be ready in case Dak Prescott has, quote unquote, an issue health-wise. Why would you tempt fate about talking about the MVP candidate quarterback maybe getting hurt down the stretch or in the playoffs? Why would you even dare to bring that up? Again, I'm a big jinx person. That's the ultimate jinx to me, to talk about your MVP candidate who leads the league in many statistical categories getting hurt and wanting to get the backup quarterback ready. What coach or GM with an MVP candidate in the history of this league has ever discussed publicly 4 weeks from the end of the season wanting to get the backup quarterback ready just in case the MVP candidate gets hurt? How about a big zero? Big zero. Nobody would ever think
Talk
to
about
do
it,
this.
Jerry. Don't you stop now.
Right. Nobody would do it because Jerry loves him some Tony Romo. Tony Romo Jones, as you have nicknamed him. Jerry badly wants Tony to be part of this, to help win the Super Bowl. And this is just me. Now I'm going to maybe go completely over the edge here. This is my 2 cents from a distance. I believe in Jerry Jones' heart of hearts. He would not mind it if Dak Prescott got hurt. He would not mind it because now Tony's healthy, ready to go. And I think Jerry deep down believes this team would have a better chance of going to win the Super Bowl with the former Pro Bowl quarterback who had his best year 2 years ago when he had one healthy year. And this brings me to my final issue with Jerry Jones. There are those that I talk to consistently in and around that organization who believe that Jerry's having some, could I say, old age problems. At age 74, he's just getting up there and sometimes he's not quite right. There are others who swear to me he's as sharp as he ever was. So I'm not sure which way that goes. But in the end, even though Stephen Jones is starting to take over more and more, the one who's speaking out front for my Dallas Cowboys, the one with the radio show, the one who addresses the media after every game is Jerry Jones. And my conclusion is, I think you're on the way to being right, that Jerry Jones might have started just yesterday undoing the Dallas Cowboys. These are all extremely dangerous statements that he has made.
It's not your typical water that you normally drink.
Yeah.
Would you like to drink something? Because I know you're parched right now. You okay?
I'm actually just getting started.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I hydrated before the show.
Okay.
More than you know.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Yeah.
I absolutely, Skip, and I concur with everything you just said. I have a problem with what Jerry said because Jerry just can't help himself but to bring Tony Romo into the equation, into the conversation. Because I've said this many, many times, and a lot of people, you joke every time they ask you who's the biggest threat to the Cowboys. It's Jerry Jones. I truly 1,000% believe that Jerry really is the only thing. Now, look, I give Seattle because they're battle-tested. They've been there, done that. Russell Wilson, that defense will travel. It doesn't matter if you play in Seattle or wherever you go. But Jerry Jones has the potential to undo everything that they've accomplished this year. For me, when I look at it from a distance, I'm asking myself, what else can Dak do to convince Jerry Jones that, Jerry, you're in good hands? Okay, what about if I go on the road and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers with 42 seconds left on the clock? I drive down the field and score the help score the game-winning touchdown. We win that game. What about if I tie a game up late in the fourth quarter, get it to overtime, and the other team doesn't see the ball? Okay, what if I beat our most fierce division rival in Washington twice? What about if I go to Minnesota against that stingy defense and when we weren't playing our absolute best, but when we needed throws, I made those throws?
You did.
What else can Dak do to convince Jerry Jones that, Jerry, I'm your guy?
I don't think there's anything. I agree.
I ask this simple question of you, and you've been around the game for 40-plus years. I played it for 14, and I've covered it a long time. I never heard Coach Belichick say, when he made the switch from Tom Brady to Drew Bledsoe. Now, mind you, Drew Bledsoe was the first pick in the draft in 1993. To get the first pick, you got to be pretty awful. I never heard Coach Belichick say, you know what? I want Drew to be a part of this championship. I want Drew to have a part in this. I never heard Coach Parcells when Phil Simms got hurt in 90.
Yep.
And they made the switch to Jeff Hostetler. Not one time did I hear Parcells say, I need Phil to get right because I want him to be a part of this.
That's correct.
Only Jerry Jones. Skip, I'm not going to sit here and say because I would be lying. Jerry is happy that they are 11-1, but he's not nearly as happy as they would be if that was Tony Romo with this team. He's made that abundantly clear. Tony Romo, some way, shape, or form, is going to have to participate in some way. Maybe it's the playoff game. Maybe it's Dak's not playing well early. He's going to Tony Romo, Skip. You know that's happening. He's made that abundantly clear. Because even when they don't bring Tony Romo's name up, he brings it into the conversation.
He does. Because
he wants it out there. He doesn't want it to be a surprise when it happens. Because I've been telling you this all along. Anybody that will listen, every time I drop little tidbits. Now, I do agree with Jerry. I don't believe you should rest because I've been in situations like that twice, Skip. In 1996, we were 12-1. We had it, and then all of a sudden, Mike started. Terrell Davis got 14 carries. John played a series. I was playing to the half. Then the last game, I didn't play at all. John played about 10 snaps. You changes the dynamic of it because I don't care what anybody tells you. Once the coach tells you you're not playing, your total mindset changes the way you practice.
And then what happened?
We lost in the first round to Jacksonville.
Okay, that was Jacksonville. Okay, got it.
Guess what happened in 98? We started 13-0, had home field advantage clinched. Mike Shanahan ain't resting nobody.
Okay.
Terrell Davis got his 25 carries. Shannon Sharpe, John Elway, Rod Smith played the entire game.
Okay, but Jerry's with you. That's what he was saying in those remarks.
But we had it clinched already.
Okay, but Mike didn't start talking about his plans before you had clinched.
No.
Right?
We already had it clinched.
Yeah.
We had the division sewn up. Now, what I would do, Ezekiel Elliott is averaging about 22 carries a game.
Okay, that's fine.
If there's some way I could get him around 15,
because
the 30 to 40 carries I could save him over the last 4 weeks,
no doubt,
I could give that to him in the playoffs.
I got you.
So I agree with that. Now, if I can get Zeke anywhere possible, that I can get him to 15 to 18 as opposed to 22 carries, another 3 to 4 passes, if I can cut that down, because it takes 2 games, because I believe they will have home field advantage throughout. It's going to take 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. In order for you to win those games, he's going to have to touch the ball 50-plus times.
Okay.
So you save him on the front end in order to increase his workload on the back end. But, Skip, he can't help himself. It's burning him up that the Cowboys are having this season, and Tony Romo isn't a part of it.
Yep.
And it bothers him.
It bothers him a lot. And this also might bother him. This is just, again, my 2 cents from a distance. I have loved Dak's demeanor, the way he took control of the locker room and the huddle. And I told you starting in about week 2 or 3 that I loved the way he was treating Dez Bryant by not treating him the way he had been treated, by saying, if he's open, I'll throw it to him.
Right.
If he isn't, I won't throw it to him. Didn't want to hear a word from him in the huddle before plays are called.
Right.
I'm open, I'm open, I'm open. And he may be treating Jerry the same way. Be polite to him, but not welcome him. Like, let's have dinner.
Right.
And Tony's a let's have dinner kind of a guy, right?
Yep.
So I think that Dak took over the team, and maybe Jerry's thinking, he's getting a lot of attention, man. Like, he's becoming the face of my Dallas Cowboys, and I want to be the face.
The story has to be Jerry
When was the last time you heard Dez Bryant mention Tony Romo's name? You notice he started catching touchdowns and getting passes.
Wised up.
Dak definitely changed the dynamic of the team. But let's talk about Dak a little bit, staying with the Cowboys. TMZ posted a video that shows Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott partying at a Dallas club on Monday night. The video shows Zeke and Dak spraying what appears to be champagne while people threw money around. Skip, this is your team. You have a problem with Dak and Zeke's partying?
I have almost as many problems with this video as I had with what Jerry Jones said. It was a bad day for my Dallas Cowboys. This was supposedly Monday night, right? Is that what we're supposed to believe?
Yes.
Probably into early Tuesday morning. Again, they were off on Tuesday, and they're in the midst of can we call it a mini bye week, a 10-day off week?
Correct.
Here we go again with premature celebration. in a very different mode and a very, very different venue. But when you spray champagne in professional sports or in college sports, maybe some cases, but when you spray champagne, it means you just won something big. Am I right?
Or you're celebrating something.
You're celebrating something big.
Right.
And my Dallas Cowboys have won exactly nothing. Nothing. I don't care what 11-1 gets you. It gets you nothing. Gets you nowhere. So I don't get the gesture of spraying champagne, which brings me back to my longtime theme. And I'm going to say it again. People hate to hear it from me, but I have been consistently right about this. Any professional athlete, or for that matter, college star athlete, after midnight in a nightclub is in jeopardy. It's the most dangerous place you can be. It's the equivalent of motorcycle riding or bungee jumping or skydiving. Should be written into the contract. You can't be in nightclubs after midnight. And it's not because of your behavior. It's because what could happen with the people around you. Everyone is in some altered state via alcohol or maybe drugs. No one's in exactly their right mind. And there's jealousy, and there's resentment, and there are men and women, and there's testosterone, and it's a bad mix. It's a volatile environment. And here you are celebrating, spraying champagne. And again, TMZ went to great lengths to point out this was all innocent. Nothing happened, except we saw him spraying into the crowd champagne. Right. Well, I know Dallas. I know the Dallas nightclubs. And I know if I had been in that crowd and I'd gotten sprayed with champagne, I might not have been real happy about it because it gets all over you and the rest of your night could be sort of ruined. Is that fair to say? And
but that's Dak and Zeke.
Okay, but it's Dak and Zeke. Listen.
Party.
Hey, yeah.
This takes entirely too
That's
long
what
to
I'm
put
saying.
together.
Thank you.
I hate her.
Thank you.
No.
Okay,
You're not
so
going to stand there and get sprayed with champagne
So what if
either.
they spray the hair of one woman and her man decides to defend her honor? Who knows what could happen? People are carrying guns and knives, and you don't know what can happen. It happens all the time. You say, oh, you're a stick in the mud for saying. No, I'm not, because every day we come in here, there's another nightclub incident somewhere, either in a college town or in New York City or Los Angeles.
Matt Barnes
Just got into one. You got it. And he'll say, I was innocent. It was their fault. Well, what were you doing there in the first place? You were tempting fate in that situation. And these are just kids. One of them's 21, Zeke. One of them's 23, and Dak. And I get it. And they want to have fun, and they deserve to have some fun, but not that much fun, and not tempting fate the way they're doing it there. Because, listen, Dallas is a dangerous place for Dallas Cowboys. It can love its Cowboys to death. Now, you've been in, like Denver's a big hero worship town too, but I'm not sure any city I've ever been in hero worships its pro football team the way Dallas does. Right. And because it loves its players to death, they can get enabled in these circumstances to self-destruct, where they're led down the wrong path by people around them that want to be close and see and be seen with Dallas Cowboys. So you have to be even more careful. And you know who set the tone for all this? Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones will be up front. I did books with him. 1989, he loves to, this is his Arkansas word, he loves to honky-tonk. He loves to go to these nightclubs with his entourage. And he's had some of his own issues at some of these nightclubs. And it set a tone for his 90s Dallas Cowboys, led by Michael Irvin, to self-destruct occasionally after hours. They had one incident after another, and some of them were lucky to get out with their lives because of these incidents. And again, you can say I'm overreacting now, but I'm just trying to send a warning to Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott: be careful. Maybe you got away with this one, but you won't get away with it next time. And I just don't love the look, which is a bad look, of spraying champagne with 4 games left in the NFL season.
Well, I'm just disappointed because I think you've waited this long, and I don't know if this is a normal occurrence for them. Maybe they do go out on Monday or whatever they do. But I think if you're this close to the end of the season with so much still ahead of you, you can't wait another 2 months. And then after the season's over with, you can go spray bottles and pop. And I
Absolutely.
I agree with you, Skip, and I tried to minimize. Now, I was not a big party guy.
Nope.
I tried to minimize the opportunity or the potential of something going wrong because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of jealousy and there's a lot of envy, and everybody that sees you out, although you are a local celebrity, they're not happy for you. You look at somebody's girl, oh, that's my girl. Oh, you think
really?
you can take my girl because you got money.
You got
it. So you try to keep as many distractions down as you possibly can. The problem, and look, I'm old school, but I'm not going to be old fuddy-duddy and say, well, you shouldn't do this. But I just think my quarterback, Zeke, running, all other players are different. Quarterbacks are held to a different standard.
You're right.
They're kind of like the CEO. So if the vice president, the CEO, or the employees, or the receivers, O-line, linebackers, they go out, it's really not a big deal. But if you see the quarterback, the starting quarterback of this franchise, and he's out doing that, and it might have been, it's harmless. I don't think anybody got upset. And, maybe some of the people like Joy, you said you'd be upset. But I'm sure a lot of the women that possibly got sprayed, and some of the men, oh, man, Zeke and Dak sprayed me with champagne. Oh, it was so cool. But everybody's not going to be cool with that. Guys, all I just ask is that you try to limit the potential of something going wrong. Try not to put yourself in harm's way as much as you possibly can. And that's what I always try. I always thought, because I know everybody's not happy that the Broncos are being successful or Shannon Sharpe is in there, and not all of a sudden women want to talk to me, and then, oh, you got money. It's not about that. So, Dak, if I could give you any advice, you got 2 months left. And if everything bounces your way, you have an opportunity to win Super Bowl 51. Bro, if you want to take the month after that and go to the club every night,
you got it.
Have at it. But right now, keep your focus on football. And for 2 months, just say, you know what, Zeke, if you want to go, go. But here, I'm going to be in my playbook. I'm going to be home, because I don't even want the mention of somebody. And maybe Jerry is seeing this. Maybe Jerry is saying, this is why I need to keep Tony Romo ready, because I'm not so sure this young man is going to be able to handle this moving forward.
Maybe.
Don't give them any reasons.
Yeah,
Dak.
that's a great point. I would agree. And in the big picture, Ezekiel, without going into the gory detail, has had 2 off-field issues that could contribute to another one.
Yes.
So he has to be even more careful.
Well, they're young guys, and they want to party, but they have to remember that they're not the average 21 and 23-year-old running around Dallas.
There was no cell phone. There was no TMZ. So I could
but even still, even now, 21-year-olds, 23-year-olds go out and party. They're not Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, so you have to be careful.
No mercy.
LeBron James and the Cavs play at the Knicks tonight. A few weeks ago, Phill Jackson retold a story calling LeBron's business associates a, quote, posse. LeBron was asked again about Phil's comments earlier this week. Let's take a listen.
I don't think it'll affect me. I just know how much further we still have to go as a race, and how far we still have to go as African Americans, and even in the light of today, and for me, I've built my career both on and off the floor with the utmost respect, and I've always given the utmost respect to everyone, all my peers, people that have laid the path for me, and laid the path for coaches and players and things of that nature. I've always given respect out, and it's always like I told you before a while ago, it's always shade thrown on me. So just let me know I still got a lot more work to do, and that's for myself and my team and my family. We got to continue to protect each other and continue to just be as great as we can be every day.
Have you approached you to entertain that discussion?
No.
Jackson talked about the situation yesterday, saying, we are not supposed to discuss other teams' players in this position that I have here, so I violated one of the tenets, and the obvious thing is the word itself carries connotation, and I just don't understand that part of it, the word, so I guess word choice could be something I could regret, but talking about other teams' players, that's out of the box. It's water under the bridge. I don't think there was anyone hurt or harmed in this situation. I think LeBron's friend obviously had an issue with it. We just let it go. It's not enough to talk about. Shannon, what's your reaction?
After today, I really hope I'm done talking about Phill Jackson. I didn't like the comments. I didn't like them then. I like them even less now. Why can't Phill just apologize? I'm sorry, and move on. See, as the offender, you don't get to tell the defended he should or shouldn't be offended by what you said. You don't get to determine that. That's not your call. If I tell you, Skip, you offended me, it's not for you to say, well, Shannon, you need to get over it. That's not your call. I'm telling you, you said something that I didn't like. Now, you could either let me voice my opinion and voice from my point of view, Skip, this is what and this is why it bothered me. And I really appreciate it if you didn't say it anymore. Hopefully you would understand, say, you know what, Shannon, I'm sorry. That's not the way I meant it. I apologize. It won't happen again. But he can't do that. You don't get to, he said, I don't think there was anybody hurt or harmed in this situation. Well, clearly LeBron and his business associates were hurt and harmed. Mm-hmm. What part about that didn't you get? And this is what really, really got me. I think LeBron's friend obviously had an issue with it. So we just let it go. Who is we? You. It was no we. He still cannot bring himself to say LeBron's business partner, LeBron's business manager was hurt. He still cannot see. And this is the problem that we have a lot in our society going on today. Yep. Because people will say something to a particular group, a race, a demographic, and they'll say, you need to get over it. Whoa, wait a minute. How do you get to tell me you say something that I don't agree with? You say something that I find offensive. Why do you get to determine when and should I should get over it? How long I should grieve about this? No, bruh. That's not how it works, Phill. Phill has the impression, because he's an 11-time champion, he's above reproach. Phil Jackson gets to say whatever he wants and nobody can call him to the carpet. That's bull diggity, Phill. Mm-hmm. Skip, this is so out of bounds. And I find it so now, one of the tenets that he violated, he can't talk about it now. It's a matter of convenience, isn't it, Skip? Now, you talked about a situation that happened 4 or 5 years ago in another organization. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a player that you didn't coach or doesn't play for your team. Now, all of a sudden, it's water under the bridge because you find it convenient, because you backed yourself into a corner. If he had just said posse, people would assume it's a group of like-minded individuals. But when he changed the narrative to posse, meaning fetching cars and fetching women, that is demeaning. That is dismissive of what this man and his associates had accomplished. And Phill should be bigger than that. But instead of apologizing, he's trying to explain his way around it. You can't get around it, Skip. LeBron, if you notice, LeBron said he was offended by it then. And then he went to a broader picture. He said, this is the same thing that we have to face as African Americans, because to this day, they still tell us, get over slavery. Okay, so what? So what you don't get the same opportunity? Get over it. Why are you complaining? Why are you hurt? Oh, it's PC. Everybody has. No, bro, it's not PC. There are certain words that you can use that are derogatory and demeaning to certain groups of people. And if the people that's in that demographic says that it's demeaning and I'm offended by it, don't tell them to get over it. Don't tell them it shouldn't hurt or it shouldn't bother you. That's not your call. Listen to the person that's telling you, I've been offended, hear them out, and says, I'm sorry, and move on. But he's so stuck in his ways. I'm Phil Jackson. I'm an 11-time NBA champion as a coach. I'm above reproach, and who are you? Mm-hmm. The biggest problem that I have, and I got a big problem with this, Phill goes out of his way every opportunity he gets to try to take a swipe at LeBron James. He wants people to think he's like, LeBron, you don't want special treatment. He wants people to think that LeBron James is the only NBA player in the 70-year history, superstar, that requested and was granted special privileges. So Phil Jackson would have you to believe that he treated Craig Hodges and Steve Kerr the exact same way he treated Michael Jordan. You and I both know that is a bald-faced lie. Mm-hmm. He would have you to believe that Shaq and Kobe got the same treatment as a Kwame Brown, a Chris Mims, or a Smush Parker. Nobody that's watching this show would believe that. But he makes it seem like LeBron is the only one, the only superstar that requests and get granted privileges that no other player in the history of the NBA have requested and been granted. That is so false. That I just cannot believe that Phill, as old as he is, and he's been around, he knows what certain things that you can't say. The NBA is made up of 75% black, Skip. So you know there are certain things that you can't say. And when someone of that race say, I'm offended by that, that's demeaning, that's dismissive of everything. And LeBron is laying it out. I've paid the utmost respect to every coach, every player that came before me that's in the league right now. I've never been dismissive. And for me, to what I've been able to build and accomplish, to have him. See, that's what bothers me. I mean, you would think, here's the guy that coached Michael Jordan. He coached Kobe and Shaq. You would think, like, you know what, hey, LeBron, I'm sorry. That's not the way I meant it. I meant that as a 19-year-old, there are a lot of guys that are around you, and I've seen situations in similar situations where 19-year-old has a lot of guys hanging around. Bad things normally happen. I apologize that I stereotyped you, and I said one size fit all because I had seen it happen before. I automatically assumed that it was going to happen to you. I apologize because you've been the utmost citizen. You've been the face of the NBA for an extended period of time, and you've been nothing but gracious to the NBA. So I apologize if I offended you. I'm sorry. Case closed, moved on. But he can't even bring himself to do that because he says, I can't understand the word. So maybe I could have been wrong. Maybe, even if the man has told you, he was hurt. Even if the Maverick Carter comes out and says, yeah, that's dismissive, that's demeaning, you still can't bring it to yourself to apologize and move on.
Bottom line to everything you just said, I found Phil's clarification even more offensive than his initial remarks.
Exactly.
And I think LeBron and Maverick Carter would also find his clarification to be just that.
Yes.
Gasoline on their fire. And again, Phill is Phill. He's got a vault full of rings. He probably got more money than he could ever spend. And he thinks he can say and do just about whatever he feels like. As the, what's his title at the Knicks?
The Zen Master.
Yeah, he's the Zen.
Well,
but
that's not that
but,
title there.
He's the president, GM, whatever he is.
Yeah.
But the point is this. Running the New York Knicks requires that you attract free agents in the offseason. And LeBron James and his company, and LRMR, and Rich Paul, and certainly Maverick, these are very influential people in the National Basketball Association. And they can be very persuasive with a lot of stars who are becoming free agents. I think these remarks will continue to haunt and hurt Phil Jackson as we enter into another free agent period. Because some stars who like LeBron, maybe love LeBron, maybe close to LeBron, are just going to say no to Phil Jackson. And this is why. And again, he had to bring up that word posse again. It'd be one thing just to let all this lay. Yeah. What if you just hadn't said a word? Just leave it alone. That would have been better than this, because he just dug the hole deeper by saying that he still doesn't understand the connotation of that word posse. Well, that's fine. Maybe Phil can't understand it. We even had Rob Parker, a black man, on the show saying, I'm not sure I see what the real issue is with the word posse. But to your point, LeBron had a huge issue. In all my years of carefully watching LeBron James, I'm not sure I've ever seen him more offended than he was publicly than this. I
don't believe so either.
It was offended to the point in LeBron's world of being outraged. I think I could go to outrage over this, right?
Yes.
Wasn't he just spitting outrage? That's how
you can tell. I mean, his tone was slow. It was monotone. His voice didn't raise.
No.
And he was just saying, laying it out step by step. He was seething inside.
He was seething. That is exactly right. And Phil went to the line of, so I guess word choice could be something I could regret, ... but you know he doesn't.
Exactly.
He's basically saying, I don't regret it. And what he's really saying is, I was actually right in the way I used that word. Well, that's highly, doubly offensive given what just happened.
Given they told you they were offended by it.
Exactly. And then he goes to the point of saying, the only thing I did wrong was I violated the NBA rule that I can't talk about a player from another team. And then he proceeded even yesterday to continue to talk about the player on the other team, right? Because he's Phil Jackson. He can do whatever he wants to do. He's Phil Jackson. And then I so agree with you when he says nobody was hurt or harmed. Again, I don't know if you could say LeBron was harmed by it, but he was hurt by it.
Yes.
He was hurt, man. And he should have been, because that's, in his world, those are his guys. They came up together. He believes in them. And they have all, he obviously gave them the springboard, but each and every one of those guys on his own has become a force in his world.
Correct.
Maverick Carter, and then to dismiss Maverick as the line was, I think LeBron's friend. Was obviously had an issue with it. He's so much more than LeBron's friend. Maverick is the one who will be doubly offended by that remark. It's so condescending, his friend. Maverick Carter has become a force on Madison Avenue and in Hollywood in and of himself. Yeah, he's LeBron's guy, but trust me, he's his own guy too.
Correct.
I know him. He's a powerhouse. And that should be triply offensive to Maverick Carter, who also has a lot of influence over a lot of NBA players.
Right.
So Phill just keeps digging the hole a little deeper and deeper. And in the end, I think Phil's going to be the one who's going to suffer for this in the long haul. So I think if there's some revenge to be had here, it's going to be in free agency.
Skip, if someone were to step on your toe and say, hey, bro, excuse me, you stepped on my toe. Man, I ain't even stepped that hard. I ain't even put on my... Bro, it doesn't matter. You stepped on my foot.
Yeah.
So whether or not you put the full force of your weight on it, I'm telling you what you did.
Yep.
So LeBron and Maverick has laid out, Phill, this was offensive to us. This was demeaning. This was derogatory to us. So Phill, all you have to do, I'm sorry. That's not the way I meant it, guys. I was just saying that in similar situations, even though I was being stereotypical because I'm judging one situation by another situation instead of each individual situation on its own merit, I apologize. It's just so easy to say I'm sorry, but then he has to offer a critique and an analysis of the word, and he didn't mean anything. Stop. He's offended. So apologize and move on.
It's such an easy solve. Why would you dig in when the solve is so easy?
No mercy.
The 18-3 Warriors are on the road tonight against the Clippers. Right now, Golden State is the 1 seed in the West, while the Clippers are the 3 seed. Klay Thompson is coming off a career-high 60-point game on Monday night. We're joined by our NBA analyst, Chris Broussard. Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
Who's going to win tonight?
Well, I'm excited about this game. Did you guys talk about how big this game is? I think it's far bigger than Cleveland Clippers. Because that didn't really matter.
Well, it mattered to your psyche.
Yeah, but it mattered for the Clippers.
Yes.
It didn't really matter for Cleveland. I think this matters for both. I'm going to be there.
Can I go?
You go. Yeah,
I got to go.
I got bedtime.
Yeah, exactly.
You not going either? You going to watch?
I'm going to watch, and then I'm going to bed.
Look, I'm going with the Warriors. And I think I give the Clippers a great chance because I think the rosters are similar. You know, the Clippers bench hasn't been as strong lately, but it's still probably better than the Warriors.
Yes.
And last year, even though they lost all 4 games, they played them tough. They were up 10 in the fourth quarter, the first game, up 23 in the second quarter, the second game, and then the third game was close. And their big lineup was tough with DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. That gave the Warriors problems. It was when the Warriors went to the death lineup that the Clippers just couldn't keep up. But now Doc Rivers feels like they play better when they play small since they're used to playing without Blake from last season. That said, I think they got matchup problems. J.J. Redick has to guard Klay Thompson. I mean, he's a liability already, and Klay, we know what he can do. And then by Mute, who's a good defender, he's got to guard Durant. But a lot of times they end the game with 3 guards. Right. Like it's Redick, Chris Paul, and then either Jamal Crawford or Austin Rivers. So one of them's going to have to guard Kevin Durant. I think Draymond does not only play Blake well, but may even get into his head a little bit. He does.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'm going with the Warriors, but I expect a good game, maybe an 8-point win or something like that.
Okay.
I went more than that. I said 122 to 104, I think.
Oh.
But here's the thing now. You're going to have to dominate the boards. They're going to have a 10, 15-point rebound advantage.
The Clippers.
Because you can't allow those guys to get second and third cracks at you on the offensive end because the first 2 might miss, but they're not probably going to miss 3 cracks at you. So DeAndre can get 20 rebounds. Maybe Blake has about 12. That gives them an opportunity. But it's just too much firepower. I mean, you got Klay all of a sudden has started to find his rhythm. You know what KD's going to do. KD's going to do KD. Yeah. Steph Curry's going to be Steph. Steph Curry only played like 29 minutes. I mean, he didn't really do a whole lot the other night. So everybody should be well rested. But I give Clippers the bench. I think Clippers bench are better than Golden State's bench. But here's the thing, the starting lineup. That starting lineup for the Warriors, can't no one touch them. The problem is they can't play all 48 minutes. So when they go to the bench, that's asking an awful lot to hold those leads. I got the Warriors big.
And I got the Clippers barely. I got 108, 105. I did pick the Clippers to win the West because I thought the door was slightly cracked by the Warriors going dramatically, maybe desperately, to Kevin Durant, mixing up the chemistry. I'm very impressed that they've been so good so soon. I know it's only December, but the degree of difficulty for the Clippers tonight to win this game will be higher than the one they won handily at Cleveland, which is, that's a mouthful. But look, Golden State can live and die by the three. When Clay does that, they're going to beat anybody. They'd sweep Cleveland in the finals if he could do that every night, but they can't do that every night. And you know, and I know.
You don't think one of those guys is going to be a hot?
Okay, but
I've seen
I've seen both of the two guards. I've seen the two shooters go completely cold against the Lakers several times, and they lose because when they go 4 for 20 or whatever from three, they're going to lose. And again, the Clippers, as a group, when they focus and lock in and say, we're pointing to that game, and I think tonight is that game, they are capable of winning this game at home as they were. They basically dominated Cleveland Cleveland. Now, as you pointed out to me, and I just closed my eyes, the Clippers have already lost twice to Indiana, which is just inexcusable. Yeah. And on that trip, as they were leading up to the Cleveland game, which they were pointing to and looking ahead to, they lost at Detroit, and then they blew that 18-point lead at the Nets. And Doc got tossed and went out of his mind because Doc, I'm not saying he's on the hot seat. He's on a personal hot seat because he knows this is a chance to break through with a team that is deep enough to do it. So tonight, Jamal Crawford, remember, if Jamal goes up, he can go off just the way those guards can go off. He can make those kind of shots too. And Austin Rivers, you want to talk about big guts and big moments, he can make big shots too.
He's getting a lot better too.
He is. He's getting a lot better. So I just think at home, this is, as December games go, this is a big December game for this team's psyche.
No, I agree. And I think whichever team loses, it's damaging. Because let's face it, the Warriors have just been beating up on the chumps of the league. Boston's, I mean, you know, they're okay. Indiana's, Phoenix, I mean, they've had an easy schedule. The one elite team they played shellacked them. So this group, you know, we could point to the last 2 years and say, oh, they can get it done. That's not this group. I don't think right now they're as good as they were the last 2 years. Now, I think they'll get there, but right now they're not. They have to prove with Kevin Durant, without Andrew Bogut, that they can beat an elite team, one of the 4 contenders. And then the Clippers, if they lose, when they going to beat this team?
Well, they're looking to snap a 6-game losing streak to them.
No one can score like the Warriors. They've scored 142 and 138 their last 2 games. In regulation.
Well, it's the highest ranked offensive efficiency in history.
Yeah, the average 120 a game. That's like the old 80s when everybody was scoring 135, 140.
We'll find out tonight. No mercy. Tom Brady and the Patriots are the overwhelming favorites to win the AFC and host Baltimore on Monday. Since coming back from suspension, Brady has 19 touchdowns and 1 interception this season. Rob Parker is back with us. Rob, you've been critical of Tom Brady for years and of his popularity.
Should we just sit back?
No, it's okay. I've heard all this before. It's interesting.
What's your issue with him?
I think Tom Brady should be bigger than he is, and people will say, what do you mean by that? I think he should be on the level, to me, of like a Derek Jeter. This guy just won 201 games. He's won 4 Super Bowls. He's gone there 6 times. And unless you're from New England, a Patriots fan, or you went to Michigan, those are the people in Brady's corner no matter what. Right. But he's not revered or heralded by everybody like I think he should, and that's because I always believe that there's still that little piece where you feel like he got away with something, or there's something behind the curtain that if somebody pulls it one day will expose what's going on with the Patriots and Tom Brady. And I mean, the Spygate stuff, the Deflategate stuff, you know, where Tom Brady, to me, I'll never forget, and I still remember, Peter Alexander from NBC News asked Tom Brady point blank, is Tom Brady a cheater? Do you remember that question?
I said it.
And he looked right into the camera and said, I don't think so. And I thought to myself, that's the most telling quote of anything, because I would not say, I don't think so. No, I'm not a cheater, and I've never cheated, and there's no reason for me to cheat. I don't think so. And then all the other steps that came behind, and I think that's why he's not as heralded or revered from others. He should be universally appreciated by everybody who's just a football fan, not just New England. But Tom Brady isn't in that class, and I think he's hurt himself.
Some jealousy, some resentment?
Sure, there
model
is.
Wife.
That's always so. I think A-Rod went through that before the steroid skip. I do. I think A-Rod got a lot of that where people were just jealous. He got this, look like a perfect life. He got all this money. He's a good-looking guy. He got women. So people are like, oh, I can't stand that guy. And I think Tom Brady's gotten some of that. But I really believe it's the other stuff behind the curtain that one day, and I believe this too, will be exposed. Some disgruntled employee, somebody inside the Patriots will lay it all out on the table, and people will not look at Tom Brady the same way they look at him. That's just my gut, my feeling that someday that will. Does that mean he's not a great quarterback? That's not what I'm saying. I think he's a great quarterback, and he's put up the numbers and won as much as you can win, or as much as just about anybody else.
140 games.
Okay.
If you think about it, if you factor in all his regular season losses and playoff losses, in 16 years as a starter, the guy's only lost 61 games.
That's amazing.
That's less than 4 games. That's less than 4 games a year. So, I agree with some of what you're saying because how their first Super Bowl run started. Everybody knows that was a fumble, and they came out of the woodwork with the Tuck rule. Tuck rule. I had never heard of the Tuck rule before, and haven't really heard about it since. And then you had Spygate, and for them to be so, and Coach Belichick said it only helped probably like 1%. Well, considering the games are decided by 3-4 points, 1% is astronomical.
It's huge.
There's a reason why we study those films. There's a reason why not only was studying film enough, we would get the game copy, the television copy, so we could hear cadence, so we could hear checks.
Yep.
That's why you do all of that. But there is a level of resentment because he has won so much, because they do win so much. And I've never, ever had a problem with the person being successful because I know what it took for me coming from my background and rising and be able to do what I was able to do for my family and for me to become the athlete and the player that I became. I do agree that there's some of that with his wife. You know, when you have it, there are very few athletes that have a wife that makes more than they do. Even fewer that can say they have a supermodel wife. And so now you have a guy that's won 4 Super Bowls. He's been to 6. He's the all-time winningest quarterback in NFL history. He has a model wife who makes excess of $30 million every year. So there's a lot to be resentful for. But I do not envy Tom Brady because he's under a lot of pressure because he has to be great every game. He's always buttoned up. He always tried to say the right thing. But I said that very comment when this very thing came out. If somebody were to ask Shannon Sharpe, are you a cheater? It's not, I don't think so. Hell no, I didn't cheat. And I think that's the normal response that a person would have had they not cheated. So for me, I admire what he's done. I remember him before he was Tom Brady. He went to the Pro Bowl. My last Pro Bowl was his first Pro Bowl. I met him and talked to him. I've seen him a couple of times. He likes fashion. You know, me and Tom.
Okay.
But I met his sisters and everything. And so I got nothing but mad respect for Tom Brady. He's great, but I agree with some of what you're saying is that he's not revered like he should be because of some of the things that are surrounding him.
And that's why I use Derek Jeter, because I think he should be on that plateau. When you think of Derek Jeter, there's very few things you could say in a negative way for a guy who played 20 years in New York, won 5 championships, and didn't bump his head that many times.
But the one thing before you go, Skip, is that baseball numbers matter. And football numbers really don't matter. You don't know what 18,629, that's Emmitt Smith's rushing total. You don't know what 71,000.
I'm glad you told me that because I didn't know that.
Exactly. You don't know what 71 plus thousand, that's how many yards Peyton Manning passed for. See, you don't know 539 is the number of touchdowns that Peyton, but 300 wins, 5,000 strikeouts. You know, those numbers are sacred in baseball. Numbers don't really mean the same thing in football as they do baseball.
Or 942, isn't that Brett Favre's interceptions?
Every chance he gets, he try to needle it in. Go ahead, Skip.
All
Take it
you need to know about Tom Brady is 4, as in 4 Super Bowl rings.
Yes.
That should be 5 and well could have been 6. You know it, and I know it.
Skip, if you could have used that premise, then what Shannon said about the first one shouldn't have counted. So you can't go back and rewrite history.
Tom Brady did his part to win the first Super Bowl against the Giants. He threw it to Randy Moss to go ahead 14-10 with 2 minutes left. And Eli, on 3rd and long, somehow escaped. I don't know how he escaped, closed his eyes and threw it as far as he could, and it stuck in Tyree's face mask. I'm sorry. It's just... There's some luck involved.
He lost.
There.
He lost to Eli
so
twice.
He lost, but he well could have won that one. And if Wes Welker had just turned a little bit and made a catch that Shannon Sharpe would have made in his back pocket, then we would
That was a bad throw, though.
It was a little off. I will give you that. Okay. A little off by his standards. Look, you will find no bigger fan of Tom Brady, the football player, than this guy.
Yes.
Look, did he benefit some from Spygate? I don't know how much, but maybe a little bit, 1%, 3%. He might have. But if you get me to Deflategate, I'm going to defend him to the death. Yet I agree with the points you have made about why wouldn't you look into all the cameras and say, no. Well, he did it with actions. When he started to fight City Hall in court, he was screaming to you, I am not a cheater. And he fought the way nobody would fight, level after court level, and finally had to give it up because it was becoming a distraction to his team. But he won 2 rounds, or you could say, at least it was a tie for 2 rounds, right? Mm-hmm. And yet he was driving me crazy, because the one issue I've always had with Tom Brady is when he speaks to the media, when he speaks in public anytime, I don't know who that guy is anymore, because he's mealy-mouthed, he's gee whiz, oh shucks, oh shucks. And then on the field, especially when he is locked in to win a football game, he is Psycho Tom. He goes berserk. No one competes harder than Tom Brady. No one will talk any more trash than Tom Brady. Nobody will get more excited. I've never seen a quarterback get more excited during a game than Tom Brady gets, and I love to watch him. When he goes Psycho Tom and I pick the Patriots, I'm good to go. And by the way, speaking of Deflategate, I still say, and I'm going to sum it up, that the commissioner framed and railroaded Tom Brady to get even with the Patriots for their history of cheating. I don't believe he had anything to do with Deflategate. And by the way, in the second half of that game against the Indianapolis Colts, that fateful night in Foxborough, when the footballs were legally inflated, what did he do? He was deadly accurate. What did he do in the Super Bowl? He destroyed the Legion of Boom in the Super Bowl with legally inflated footballs by playing the greatest fourth quarter I have ever seen a Super Bowl quarterback play against one of the all-time best defenses and certainly secondaries. Go look at the numbers. They're extraordinary.
I know I've seen the numbers and I watched. But I'm asking you, 10 years from now, Tom Brady's retired, and somebody comes out with a book, somebody who worked in that organization, and they lay it all out on how the Patriots cheated and what advantages Tom Brady got. Will that change how you look at him?
It's not going to happen, because I don't think he cheated in Deflategate. Now, again, on Spygate, I don't know if he benefited. It wasn't his doing to cheat. It was the head coach's doing.
Yeah, but it helps you when you know the defensive signals. Would you admit if you're a quarterback, if you're a quarterback and they know the defensive signals?
Okay, to your point, once Deflategate happened, I think about 2/3 of the NFL world leaped to the conclusion that Tom Brady not only cheated, but he was lying about cheating, right? And a lot of people just are going to believe that, and I can't change that.
Maybe it's because he smashed his phone and texted the ball boy 100 times. Yeah. Maybe it's that.
They had all the ball boys' texts also, and there was nothing incriminating in there.
But when they wanted to interview him for a second time, the Patriots stamped that out and said that's not going to happen. But
although that was the NFLPA that said you can't do that.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. You had some of the most prominent quarterbacks, Hall of Fame quarterbacks, say not only did Tom Brady know about it,
hear you.
They said he ordered it. Mm-hmm. But you know what I like?
But that's all circumstantial. Okay, nobody had any proof.
Okay, but here's the thing. There are a lot of people that's in prison right now.
For circumstantial, right.
In Rikers for circumstantial. But you know what I love about Skip? Skip says Tom Brady, the Patriots have 4 Super Bowls, and it could have been 6. What if Vinatieri had missed those 2 games?
Thank you. You know what? Whenever I put the Tom Brady at night,
it's just part of football.
Wait a minute. Right, listen to that.
Go ahead, Rock.
When I can't sleep at night, I want to watch something. I'll put on the Tom Brady career highlight reel. And Adam Vinatieri's all through it, because without those field goals, he wouldn't win those Super Bowls.
Who threw them into position to kick those field goals? Tom Brady did.
So Eli play is not a part of football.
Well, it was a lucky part of football. It was a pass and a prayer. It was the biggest prayer I've ever seen.
Tom Brady, I got no problem with it, because anybody that comes from the 6th round, I got mad respect for any player, because I was 192nd. Tom was 6 or 7 picks lower than I was because they had decreased the roundage from 12 to 7. So anybody that can work their way like he did and become what he became, I got nothing but the utmost respect
last
for
quick point. I think he has been a victim of the way Bill Belichick teaches his team to treat the media, which is to not treat the media, give them nothing, because Belichick basically gives them nothing.
Yes.
So Tom adopted this persona off the field to the media, like, gee, you could be right, you know. And then he did the Jim Gray interview at Salem State. I'm screaming at my TV, say something. He's not going to give you anything, but his actions will speak loudly that I didn't cheat.
I got a cookbook coming out, $200 to buy it.
There you go.
No mercy.
This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. We're back on Thursday when former point guard Baron Davis will be here for more Undisputed. We'll see you all then.
Fox Sports. One of one.